Hello. So the video today is a little bit different, I suppose, but it's growing up coping instead of understanding. So many or a lot of neurodivergent children will survive childhood by coping. And we know this because they learn to mask, they imitate, and they endure. And often adults say they'll be fine when they're older, particularly our parents or their grandparents. That's a big saying. But adulthood demands things coping alone can't provide. They can't provide self-advocacy, flexible thinking, navigating unspoken rules, understanding systems, and asking for help. When a young person has grown up being told to just be positive, they often enter adulthood without language for struggle. So when things fall apart, they don't think this system doesn't work for me. They think there's something wrong with me. This is where burnout happens, where anxiety deepens, and where people disappear quietly. Honest reality gives young people something different, an understanding of themselves, permission to adapt, confidence to ask for support. Surviving childhood does not automatically prepare someone for adulthood. Understanding does. There's a sentence I will keep coming back to. Surviving childhood does not automatically prepare someone for adulthood. Understanding does. And that distinction is everything. Because many neurodivergent children do survive childhood. They get through school, they get through lessons, and they get through expectations that were never designed for them. But surviving is not the same as being prepared. When a child survives childhood without being understood, they learn very specific skills. They learn how to stay out of trouble, how to mask distress, how to copy others, how to avoid attention, how to push through discomfort. These are not useless skills because they work. They help a child get through the day. But they're not short-term survival strategies, not life skills. Because what they don't teach is how to understand their own nervous system, how to recognize overload, how to advocate for themselves, how to ask for help without shame, and how to adapt environments rather than blame themselves. So the child appears to be coping, right up until the point when coping isn't enough anymore. Adulthood removes many of the structures that held survival in place. There's less routine, less external regulation, more social complexity, more unspoken rules, more responsibility. Suddenly, the strategies that worked in childhood start to fail. Masking becomes exhausting. Compliance becomes unsustainable. Silence becomes isolation. And because the person has never been helped to understand themselves, the internal narrative is often, everyone else manages, why can't I? Not the system doesn't work for me. This is where burnout, anxiety, and collapse often appear. Not because the person wasn't resilient, but because resilience wasn't built on endurance, not understanding. The cost of being fine. This is why toxic positivity is so dangerous over time. When children are told, you're fine, just keep going, others manage. They don't learn insight. They learn denial. They learn to ignore early warning signs. They learn to override their own limits. They learn to distrust their instincts. So by adulthood, they don't stop when something feels wrong. They push harder until the body forces them to stop. Understanding teaches very different skills. It teaches a child what overwhelm feels like in the body, what helps them regulate, when to ask for time or space, how to communicate needs. That struggle is not failure. A child who understands themselves grows into an adult who can navigate the world with intention, not just endurance. They don't expect life to be easy, but they trust themselves to manage it with support. So, linking back to everything we've said so far, when children disappear in order to cope, they survive, but they don't understand themselves. When schools focus on policy over capacity, children comply, but they don't learn regulation. When adult demands skill in survival mode, children react, but they don't gain insight. All this leads to the same outcome. Adults who look capable on the outside, but are struggling deeply on the inside. This is where your own journey fits so clearly. Possibly. Maybe you survived childhood by staying quiet. You survived work by working harder than everyone else. You succeeded, but at the cost of self-belief and ease. And that's not a personal failing. It's what happens when survival is mistaken for preparation. If we want neurodivergent children or young people to thrive as adults, we have to stop congratulating survival and start investing in understanding. So, we support regulation before behaviour, teaching self-awareness alongside skills, adapting environments, not just expecting compliance, normalising help seeking, and allowing honesty instead of enforced positivity. So instead of asking, are they coping? We need to ask, do they understand themselves well enough to cope long term? Because survival gets someone through childhood, understanding gets them through life. If a child grows up believing, I'm not broken, I'm different, and I understand how I work, they enter adulthood with resilience that doesn't rely on exhaustion. That's the difference. And that's why this matters. And I'm sure that will sort of resonate with an awful lot of you, is that we have coped. We have learnt to try and fit in. But have we understood why? And that does give us long-term issues that we're always second guessing and questioning ourselves with. So let's hope this has been helpful for you, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.